Welcome to the Sound Mind Strategy Podcast with your host, Evan
and Anina Blankenship.
This podcast is aimed to be an in-depth discussion between husband and wife power couple where we take on challenging topics in the mental health and wellness arena.
By trade and training, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified professional coactive coach, USA Cycling National Champion, and I love to push my limits both physically and mentally.
As for me, I am currently in a master's program for sport and performance psychology, where I am also on track to become a certified mental performance consultant. I've also been coaching athletes for the last 5 years, helping them reach their truest potential.
We're both very passionate about athletic performance, mental skills training, spirituality, and we love to take a holistic approach to helping people find harmony in their mind, body, and spirit.
We believe that there's greatness inside of everyone. Our mission and the mission of this podcast is to help you unlock and operate within yours. Hello, everybody. Welcome back or welcome to the Sound Mind Strategies Podcast. This is episode number 15. We are so excited to come at you again this week and just kind of share from our hearts and kind of speak into you guys and just kind of share a little bit about what's going on in our lives and then kind of touch on another topic that we feel is very timely. It's something that we've talked about quite a lot the last couple weeks. Anina and I also kind of use the services of a coach, and this is something that has really been hitting home for us. It really has been a subject that probably should have been addressed many years ago
in our own lives. Yes.
Yeah, personally, absolutely.
Definitely.
But that's the cool thing about this stuff, because I mean, it's just like it's never too late to implement new topics, new changes, skills.
Yeah.
This is so cool. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's kind of just catch everyone up on just life, how things are going. How you doing?
So 15 weeks today. So that's pretty exciting with the little baby, which is our 15th episode. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
But yeah, so it was fun this weekend. We went to Motherhood and got my first little maternity outfit.
Yeah,
so
that's the first
fun.
Time we did some baby bump like shopping. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and it was fun because I had those like little strap-on baby bumps in the dressing room. So I put one on and came out.
You came out of the dressing room and I was like,
Evan was
oh
like, whoa.
My gosh, you're ready to pop now.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. It's like neat because then you can see how the shirt's going to fit over your bump. And so anyways, it was kind of fun. It's nice to see the shock.
You
on
got
his
some
face.
Obviously I'm a little biased on this. You're super cute, but like you got some really cute maternity bibs and
bib overalls. Yeah, those are fun.
Pretty cool. We'll have to put some up on Instagram or something like that. Yeah, look pretty cool.
Yeah, those were fun. So yeah, that was a good time. And
yeah, we did that. I had a really fun mountain bike ride with actually a really good friend of yours, Bree. Like she invited me out with a couple of riders were from Edwardsville, and they were kind enough to wait on me instead of leaving me in the woods. I'm a fairly strong cyclist, I would say. Like, I mean, definitely not the strongest out there, but I can hold my own. But it's just so crazy, like when you introduce like a technical skills and everything. Like, I mean,
different.
Oh, it's so different. Yeah, it was really cool. Like I think it's good just to get a little taste of that. Just they could just walk away from me at any moment in time, and it was so fun. They were so kind and polite. They didn't look upset.
Yeah.
But I had a blast. I just gave myself a little mantra through the day, just like,
yeah, what was it?
Be smooth. Don't worry about how far behind you get. Just be smooth and just learn, get a little bit better today, and then next time. And so like, be safe. That's the big thing.
Right.
I had a race. Well, today, the following day, Sunday. So, just be safe, and you got more days on the bike still. So, yeah, it was good. I had a blast. It was mentally way more taxing than physically, but like it was so fun to just get out there and do something different. Like that's really literally like my 5th time on the mountain bike. So I had a blast. It was fun. It was good. And then today's race was good. It was fun. It looked like storms are rolling in, but it just stayed really humid and a little muggy, but yeah, dry and good racing and good to see. A lot of people, had some people I hadn't seen in a long time. So it was fun to kind of reconnect with some friends. That's why that's the part about racing I love more than anything, is just like going hard, going super hard, and then like racing, and then at the end, like no one's mad, no one's upset, everyone's like, hey, good job, like it's cool. Like,
it's like community built around it.
Oh yeah. It's just so much fun. I'm really enjoying this season. The last couple seasons were not as enjoyable. I mean, the people are all still pretty good, but I had some injuries and stuff, and just some people treated me a little different last year. But anyway, this year's been awesome. So I'm really looking forward to it. Just this is kind of like the final weeks, so there's racing every week. So
right.
Yeah, but I don't want to drag that on too much. Some people like that. I don't know. Like, let us know. Like, if you are interested in that kind of stuff, maybe we'll expand on it a little bit more. I just kind of, that's like one of the things. Yeah.
Like a check-in too. People kind of know what's going on, and
it's just what we're into. We're bike racers, and well, you're kind of on the sidelines now, but I mean, you're definitely a very talented cyclist. And actually, you want something crazy? I was just in the middle of our ride. We ended up being on the mountain bike. We had like a 4.5 hour ride, and that was, I love just long days like that. But just being in the woods, just kind of, I had separated from the little group I was with, and just kind of spending some good time by myself. And instead of being like frustrated of like, man, I'm just so slow, or blah blah blah, I'm not good, it really brought up some feelings for me and memories. And it really made me miss running. Like I used to love trail running. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe not quite that long, but close to 10 years. Like I loved trail running. Like we would take our old dog Tyson, and man, he was such an amazing trail running partner. He would just like stay right with you, and we'd do 6 miles in some pretty hard trails, and it really made me miss that. So I think that might be a little off-season adventure. I can just test it and see how the knee holds up. I think it's going to be okay. I've had so many years of just solely riding. I definitely need to introduce that slowly.
Yes.
Like a lot of times, the motor's good, but like the joints aren't used to any of that, because cycling is just, it's a different thing, different animal. There's no impact. It's
low impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'll be fun. That'll be something to get Cooper out there. And
oh yeah, I think he's definitely got the energy for it, and we'll see how agile he is. That was one thing. Tyson was pretty light on his feet, even though he's a little bit bigger than Cooper. He was light on his feet, and he was just perfect trail running buddy. I think Cooper'd make a good one too.
Yeah.
Introduce him slowly. So
I think that's perfect. We got to have variety in our life, at times, and it's a nice way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been. Granted, I always do this, and it's something that I'm trying to work on. Like, I'm not the best, or haven't done it the longest. But anyway, I've done cycling long enough for me where I'm like, it's been a rut. I still enjoy it. I still really like training. I'm just like, I've introduced new methods of training and stuff like that. But saying that, like, a lot of the races that I really, really enjoyed aren't around anymore. I really like the long road races and stuff like that. Now it's just, a lot of those have kind of gone away. We just have a lot of like criteriums, or what they're called, for people who know cycling or not. Sorry if it's kind of simple, but for those who aren't familiar with bike racing, criteriums are kind of short circuit races, generally from about a 1 kilometer to 1 mile loop, and you just do several laps, and they're timed. So like our race would be about an hour, maybe an hour 10, and based on categories, they'll be timed like that. So you're not necessarily doing certain mileage, you're doing time. They kind of work backwards. And
right.
So anyway, that's predominantly what is around anymore. There used to be a lot more road races, and I really enjoyed those. Those suited me a lot better. it was kind of like that diesel motor, like once I was good and warmed up, like I could go for a long time. And so I really enjoyed those. So I think it'd be fun to mix it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it this fall and
Might as well give it a shot.
Yeah, go slow. Hopefully don't introduce
That's
any
right.
injuries. So see how the knee holds up.
Right. Well, great. Well, do you want to move on into our topic tonight?
Yeah, I do want to say one quick thing. Like at the race, it was really, really fun. I bumped into my surgeon, the doctor who put my knee back together.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize that.
And he put the hardware in, got me healed up after the incident. Then I went back to him, probably a couple years later, and 2.5 maybe, and then he took the hardware out. So it was awesome to see him, and he's a cyclist, and so it's just really cool that he's in the community, and so I just want to say another special thanks to Dr. Christopher McAndrews for everything. Like he has allowed me to continue to enjoy the sport that I love. So
that's great.
Anybody looking for a knee guy, surgeon, highly, highly recommend. I know there's another cyclist who had the unfortunate fate myself, and same surgeon, and he's back to ripping and roaring 100% too. So
great.
But yeah, with that, I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you to him, and life would be so different, if I wasn't able to. I think about that. It's been 4 years. How different would life be if I couldn't do the sport or have to do it like very modified,
Mm-hmm.
So God's good, and he's a good surgeon. So
yes.
but yeah, so you want to go ahead and roll in and kind of introduce the topic and kind of share a little bit about it for us?
Yeah, definitely. So tonight we had on our hearts to share about boundaries. And we got a lot of this information from the book called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. We were encouraged by our coach to start reading it, and not done with it all the way yet. So probably have more material as we continue to read, but I have started reading it and have gotten a lot of nuggets of good information that we just wanted to share tonight. So first things first is when we kind of look at like, well, what is a boundary anyways? And really just at the heart of it, it's a way for us to take care and protect ourselves. And we create boundaries, essentially for ourselves, not for other people. And so just kind of figuring out what's important to us, that we want other people to respect and honor, is one of the ways that a boundary can start. And I know in the book too, it talks about having like a visual, of a boundary. So it's like we all know, a house with a picket fence around it, for instance. We know it's very clear, like this is where my yard ends, this is where it, begins, and this is my property. So it's kind of another nice way to look at a boundary too, as it's like, this is my property, everything in here that I want to protect. And it's very clear, we can see, when we walk down or drive down the road, there's a nice clear boundary there when you see a fence or to see other
I think
signage.
That's a really cool visual too, because it also can kind of go along with our personality, right? Think about different fences. Ones that look super scary, they're at the very, very edge of the property, super high, razor wire at the top. Yeah. Or you have the ones that are a little closer to the house, really low and very inviting. Their boundaries aren't. So you have the people that have like very standoff boundaries, right?
Yes.
And then you have just the standard picket fence, or the privacy fence or the chain link, you have all these different fences set at different distances from the actual residence. So that's kind of neat because you can kind of look at like, well, we all need them.
Right.
Right. Or we should, right? I think that's kind of one of the things that we'll get into. But it's also, I don't need one that looks like the other person's. I don't necessarily have to model what yours is. I just need one that fits my life and my personality.
So true. And that's such an excellent point, because what's a boundary for one may not feel like it's one for someone else. Like, for instance, I would have a boundary that if somebody, came into our house and, was smoking cigarettes or doing drugs or just something like that, like we wouldn't let that take
That's
place
not,
in our
not allowed.
It's not allowed in our house. So it's, one of those, hey, you're still a human being. I know you can do whatever you want, but not inside my house.
Right.
And that person, is...
I'm not coming at you to stop that.
Exactly.
But I am saying, if you want to remain in this house, you will stop. Or if you want to continue doing it, that's fine. That's your choice. But you must leave my house.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's like one that's pretty like,
I love you the same, but you will respect me.
Right. Totally.
Okay. Cool.
So that's like an easy one for me to think about.
No,
like, is there one that kind of comes to mind for you that it's like, this would be my boundary?
Well, I mean, there's some things that we kind of heard too of just like some of the unspoken boundaries of just like, we know, like, I don't have to tell people about physical abuse or putting a hand on someone out of anger or rage or, violence. Like, that's just not, we don't have to go there. But what about the verbal things? You wouldn't, for some people, like, they would be a little bit more, they kind of have that, like, hey, you can't speak to me like that.
Right.
But some people don't. I think where every step that we take away from physical into verbal or psychological things, like, we need to have these clear lines, at least defined for myself. Like, I don't need to, hey, here's my boundary card. Before we engage in relationship or conversation or whatever, you need to just review the notes and this is how you will treat me. No.
Right.
I mean, but I need to know for myself, like, when I come into this situation, I need to know how I'm going to respond.
Exactly. Because if you don't know for yourself, how's the other person going to know?
Yeah.
They're not going to know if they're violating a boundary if you don't even know.
Right. And I think the hard part about that, at least for me, is, I say I have boundary of this. You will not speak to me in such and such way. You will not, whatever. But man, I really, like, it's easy for me to tell this person that, but this person, it's hard. Like, they violate the same boundary, but I'll just deal with that later, or I'll get them next time. I'll say it next time.
Right.
That's the hard thing for me. Like, if I respect them or don't, or fear them, I think that's, like, if I have a little bit of like, I don't want to say fear. I'm like, but I guess it's just like maybe fear of their the way they would think about me, the way they would feel towards me,
right.
the way they'll act towards me or my loved ones in the future. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say something and have something reciprocated towards you obviously, or maybe my parents or my siblings or other friends or whatever.
And I think that gets down to sometimes too when we tell ourselves a story, right, about what may happen. Like, I'm going to say this, and they're going to do that, and this is going to happen. Like, we're already trying to like predict the future of what maybe could happen, which can get us into a big rut, right? Because it's like all of a sudden we've made out what the whole story is going to be.
Oh, yeah, we've already had the whole conversation,
exactly,
but not really even spoken a word.
Right. So sometimes and that is a real challenge, I think, too. And I think for both of us is like putting that story aside and being like, you know what? This is important to me. I want to be respected in this area. I don't want to be having resentment towards this person. So let me just get a handle on it now. But easier said than done, right?
Agree. Yeah. I do. Like, I wanted to think about that and like, it is definitely easier said than done. Boundaries is a, very tricky thing to actually employ, right?
It is. And I think too, from what I've been reading from the book, it's important that when you do, make a boundary, a clear request to somebody, there needs to be like a consequence of some sort that you're going to fall through with, so if we go to dinner and whatever, and you start bad mouthing this person, family member that I've asked you, not to do that, I'm just going to have to be very clear that if you do that again, I'm going to need to leave because that toxic environment, that toxic negative talk is just really weighing me down. And then actually leave, right? Like, if it does happen, actually fall through with what you said you're going to do, which I think can be some of the hardest part, right? Because it's like
the follow through is the hardest thing. And that's obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously, but for me personally, that's been the hardest part to say, to do the step prior of like, hey, I need you to not say, because then I'm like, well, will I actually leave? That's really, then
I know.
will I be the petty one if I don't think so. I think it's just like, who do you honor more?
Right.
Am I honoring them more and allowing them to just, violate the boundary that I would like to set?
Exactly.
Or do I honor myself and the boundary and then go ahead and set it?
And you're very right. It's like your mental and emotional, your mental and emotional well-being needs to come first, because that's what really matters. And if you're in those environments where it just bogs you down and you feel like crap after you leave, it's like, why do I keep doing that to myself?
Mm-hmm.
So it is just kind of setting that up ahead of time.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So for boundaries, I think we answered like, what are they? I think that we kind of cleared that up, kind of like, what is it? What is a boundary? But then, so who's the boundary for? Like, who applies the boundary? Who does, the who part of that? Like, what's that look like?
I mean, I think the who it's for you. It's for yourself. You're setting that boundary for yourself to protect yourself. Ultimately, because of the consequences that it can have for you, or the state of mind or wherever it puts you in that just is not healthy for you. So it's for yourself. I'd say, I mean, it's a way of self-care, taking care of yourself.
That's exactly what I was just getting ready to say. It's literally just a method of self-care.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. It really is. And I think too, from things we've learned and talked about throughout this discussion before we had this podcast going on tonight, was just also the importance of realizing that you never know the impact that you setting a boundary for yourself could have on somebody else. Because maybe that person you've set the boundary for, it really helps them see that it's possible to set boundaries. Because we all have people in our lives that at some point in our life that it's like, dang, I need to set a boundary. Something needs to change because I can't keep going through this relationship like this. So maybe you've given them the strength and the tools to now figure out how to do that in their own life too.
So
is the way
you're
I
saying,
like to look at it.
So you're saying, like, by me setting a boundary and bringing it up to the person who is obviously violating that boundary, you could then be empowering them to say, wow, maybe I should set some boundary. Because if they're violating boundaries, chances are they have someone in their life who's also violating boundary.
Exactly. And it's not like all of a sudden it's going to smack them all in the head and they're going to be like, ta-da,
No.
I have this like huge epiphany. But you just never know over time, the more you keep reinforcing your boundary, how it can impact them and help them see.
Especially if you're like, no, I still love you and I still want to have a relationship with you, but this is how we will do it.
Exactly.
At least from my perspective. And I expect you to also have boundary for me. Like, I want to honor a boundary that you, and respect a boundary that you would set. Like, I don't want to cross your fence uninvited. If you open the gate, yeah, okay. But if the gate's closed, I don't want to violate that. I want to honor you because that's you taking care of you, and I respect that.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about doing it in love. I think that is an important piece too, of doing it in love. When we are setting a boundary, it's, hey, I don't want this happening, X, Y, and Z. I still love you, and that doesn't change the way I feel about you, but I need to protect myself. And so I know I've read different things where it talks about, if you have this like seething anger and frustration, that you need to perhaps kind of write that out and really evaluate those feelings and emotions that you're having before you go to that person in anger and just totally.
Oh yeah, I think that's
just
really,
go off on them. So.
Because I don't think any good would ever come out of that, because that's a really good way to,
But it's
that's
easy
just
to let it.
gasoline, and then
but
you're
it's
gonna
easy to
light
let
matches.
it build up too, because if you continue to like not set a boundary and it just keeps building, I can see how you'd eventually erupt and go off on somebody about why you need to set this boundary too, and then that gets you kind of in a bad space too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's who we're like. I'm setting boundaries. It's for me, for self-care, for me. But I'm applying my boundaries to everyone, right? Everyone else. Doing it in love.
Yes.
Like I love and respect you, but the boundaries are up because I respect myself and I want to care and honor myself.
Right.
Because I want to, the time that we do have, the engagements that we do have, I don't want to be wearing a fake smile or frustrated with you, like, because you keep violating this boundary that I have and I just don't have the courage to say something.
Right. And I think the more that keeps happening, the more you don't say something and the resentment, the anger builds up.
Because then I get mad or frustrated
every time
you get
frustrated,
see you.
But then it's like you can't really build a solid quality relationship, I don't believe, on this shaky ground where it's like there's not that mutual respect. You know what I mean? Like it's like going to really limit your ability to, I feel like, to have a deeper intimacy with somebody in your life because all you're thinking about is how annoyed you are that they just never respect you, Right. And you're not really going to be open up to them because all that anger, all that hurt is really what's present for you.
Right. We heard something talking about boundaries and, like us coming into this chapter, very quickly, we're going to have, baby in the arms, baby in the house quick, right? We're ticking weeks off and it's cool. And, let's just say we have someone, I think the example they used was mother-in-law or mother, either way, person that wants, and they're coming wanting to help, and they think that they're doing you a favor by, hey, I'm going to just show up and give Evan and Anina some time alone and I'm just going to swoop in and be babysitter. And they're doing this out of love, right? But they show up uninvited. They show up unannounced. Right. Ding dong. Hey, I'm here for baby. You guys just go do what you want. Like, where's the heads up? Can we schedule this? And so, the first time, like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, let us just get some stuff together and we'll just go on a walk or go grab lunch. We'll be back in, and then ding dong,
it just keeps happening over and over again.
Oh, I just laid him down. Okay, well, or I was laying down too, like I'm tired, again and again and again. And then now every time you're mad, you're fresh. Oh my gosh, seriously, again? Can this person just call ahead or ask permission?
Right.
Like, yeah, I understand it's out of love, but so that's where that boundary is. Just saying like, because the other person who's coming over, they're like, I bet they just appreciate me so much. Like I'm just coming in and they get to go have this lunch date. Like, yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole point is just because, their whole point of what they're doing is with a loving heart.
Exactly.
Right? They just aren't respecting a boundary that you might have set.
Because they don't know yet.
Because they don't know. So just like, hey, I love that you're so willing to do that. Can we just schedule them or can you just call ahead or let's just, if you want to come every Friday afternoon,
right.
Let's just put that on the books, that way we know and we can expect you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think, and that's a simple, easy way to describe boundaries instead of like, oh my gosh, they're here again. Like, don't answer the door. Just turn your phone on, like turn the lights off and hide.
That's avoidance, right? It's like, right. I'm not going to
instead of setting a proper boundary.
Exactly. And doesn't mean the first time that you said it like that it's going to be like, oh, okay, we'll always do that. They may forget or may do it again. And it's just saying it again, setting it again. Yeah. So that's when it goes back to kind of what you said of like that repercussion or the consequence of like, hey, you can't just show up unannounced. Like I appreciate that you're so willing and thoughtful to do this, but you can't, I mean, like we have stuff going on, like, we're just getting ready to take, do this or do that. Or even if we had nothing planned, it's just like, please respect us in our home. And, like, let's just keep this going. I appreciate that. And I want to use that. And I want to keep this relationship open. But I don't want to get frustrated with you because you're showing up unannounced. Yeah, exactly. I want to protect our relationship. It's important to me to do that. And this will help us do that, Yeah. And I think about to myself too, who in my life has set boundaries with me? And that's a good point. Yeah. And it's like, well, I remember. How do I feel about it? Yeah, exactly. How do I feel about it? And, maybe at first it was kind of like, oh, kind of takes you by surprise because it's like the person that's coming to the house to help out, it's like it's coming from a genuine spot, like we said. So it may feel like, oh, okay, wow, I didn't see it like that. And I've had that happen before. But then it's like once we work out all those kinks and we'd have an open, honest conversation about what the rationale is and behind it of why they want to set that boundary, it changes things. And it does make me respect them more because it's like, I appreciate that you had the guts to tell me what you needed. And that actually inspires me to let people know how I feel about things because of how we just handle this together too. So I think it is really, can be so impactful. And I know it's helped me when people have set boundaries because I needed it.
Let me ask you this then. Okay, so that was a really good example of just like, say the swoop in babysitter, they're doing it out of a heart full of love for you, right?
Right.
Now, what about the person who, let's just say the exact same scenario. I'm coming over because I don't think you know what you're doing. I'm coming over to spend time with this baby because I think you're a bad mom. I think you're a bad dad. You probably don't know what's going on. I got 6 kids and
Right.
I'm the best mom in the world. Like, you better listen to me. I'm just coming over to make sure this kid turns out okay. What about that?
I think the same rule still applies because I think it's still, being very clear with them that, that you're not going to treat me like this, like I'm an imbecile. I understand that you have a lot of years, a lot of knowledge too, but I can still learn how to take care of my child. Maybe you have some skill sets that you can share with me, but the way you're treating me and the way you're acting towards me is not okay. And it's not accepted in my household. I don't want my children seeing that. I don't want to be exposed to that. So it's like, if you're going to treat me like that and say those things about me that I don't know what I'm doing and it's kind of like, I don't know, to me, I mean, it'd be really hard, especially if it's a loved family member, but it'd be like, I can't have that in my life. I need you to, if you start saying those things to me again, I'm going to ask you to leave because it is not okay to say those things to me. And I mean, yeah.
What if they don't really verbalize it and it's just kind of in their attitude and you kind of set that boundary and they keep swooping in? Like, I mean, at what point do you just,
Right. Like, do you just keep telling them over and over, like, this is I need you to respect this as my boundary on it? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a really good question. I think it's, of course, I would say it's like case by case. Because I think we all have a limit to where it's like not healthy for us. Like, if I have to continue to be exposed to you treating me this way, it's just not healthy. It's not healthy for me to have this. And so you may have to sometimes, dismiss people from your life for a period of time. As like horrible and awful as that may sound or feel, sometimes there has to be that period. I almost feel like for growth, just to like let you be free from that. I don't know, almost like that torment that they're kind of bringing to you, because it's, that's hurtful if somebody were to act like that and be like that.
I think so.
So I think again, it's like you don't totally just like expel somebody from your life, but it's that continuation of, this is what I said is going to happen if you do this, and I'm going to keep sticking to it. Bye, you need to leave. Bye, you need to leave. Like,
I think we've kind of covered a lot of good stuff. I want to talk about just real quick, some of those might be easier to set. I mean, obviously we have some boundaries that are going to be, or people that are going to be easier to set boundaries with. Like, obviously you're going to say just like general society, that's going to be easiest. And then, or strangers, and then light acquaintances, and then, closer acquaintances, and then close friends, family members. And I think another very difficult one, and I don't know which one would be more difficult. We can talk about it, but I think the close family members, and then like people of authority, that have authority in our life, like a boss or whatever, something like that. I think, let's talk through that on how to set boundaries. When is that applicable? Like, how do you go about that? Like, how do you set those for those different kind of thresholds of people?
Life. Yeah. So I think for one, it starts with you getting clear on what your boundaries are, what you're going to take and what you're not going to take. I think that's the first step. And then noticing when your boundary is getting stepped upon. Like if your boss is always asking you to take work home over the weekend and do this, do that, you're not going to get any extra pay for it, but you need to be doing all this work. It's like having to have that conversation, and it's going to be hard, right? Especially if you're like the go-to person at work, where everyone's like, "Oh, you're always the one that helps." Da, 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 da,
Yeah, or you're the only one that knows the information for this new thing we're kicking off, and you're the the lead on that. Or, hey, I'm not asking you, can you just like check your email, or send me something, or you mind just finishing that up? It's probably only 30 minutes worth of something. Or
right. And I think that's really hard.
That's the way in. It's just, they're not going to say, hey, can you have that? Can you just like plow through the weekend and like not ignore your family and just like do all this for me? That's not going to be what it is. It's going to be that
true.
Like, hey, sorry to inconvenience you. Do you mind just finishing this up? Or so-and-so is going to be contacting you. Their time zone's a little different, or little thing. You know what I mean? It's this little thing. It's this slight inconvenience. Like that's the part for me. Like, okay, or no, sorry, that's gonna have to wait till Monday morning.
Right. And it may start out as like the first time, like, okay, I'll do it. But then if it keeps happening, I mean, I think it would be really challenging. But you're going to miss time with your family. Even if don't have a family, your own mental health and emotional well-being, because you're always strapped to that job. Then you're never getting a break from that job, can really start to wear on somebody and contribute to burnout in a person's life. So I think it's having something that you have to like nip in the beginning before it gets too far. Like for me, if somebody were to kind of say that, maybe I do it the first time, like, okay, it's only gonna take 30 minutes. Let me do this. But if it became like something all the time, I would struggle with doing it, because I'm a people pleaser too. I think that's what knowing about yourself too. If you're somebody that really aims to please people and want them to be happy with you, whatever, I feel like there's an extra layer that you have to work through on your own end to be able to set that boundary even more so, because you're going to be a yes man to everybody and a no man to yourself.
No, and that's a good point, because like just like you alluded to right there, you very much were people like, I mean, still have some of those personality traits, and because you didn't want to disappoint, and this isn't a question of who you respected more. It was just, you said you're going to honor what you say.
Right.
I said yes to them, even though I probably shouldn't have or didn't want to. Then you put that created stress and strain on our relationship.
Right.
So then I would get frustrated with you, because I'm like, come on, Nina, like we're late for dinner, or what, like let's go do this, or what are you doing? Why are you carrying all your, work with
work
you?
stuff with you all the time?
It's just like, oh, I told him I'd do that just this one time, so then it would cause frustration. So I think it's just down to a simple question of like perspective of like your value. Who do like, I value you quite a lot, and I care about you, but I also value myself. So I think outside the like me valuing, like kind of understanding what a boundary is, who it applies to, when to apply it, kind of almost, and like how to apply it. We've talked about that. I kind of want to touch on like, what about someone that has violated a boundary that I should have set, and it's just been habitual, right? And it's just kind of like their norm. The person who comes in unannounced to save the day, like
and it's been going on for years.
Yeah, say it's been going on for a really long time. And how do we do that? Like, how do I establish a boundary? Like, you need to not come over unannounced. Like, I've been doing this for like 8 months, or I've been doing this other thing, or the boss has been doing this. What are you talking about? This is what we do. I've been doing this for 5 years. What then?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I'm sure a lot of us can relate, and I know I can too, of having that issue in my own life where it's like, dang, I should have nipped this in the butt like, years ago. Now how do I backpedal? And I think what comes to mind for me, at the top of my mind, is to have a really honest, open conversation with that person of, you know what, I know in the past I have let this go for so long and, but explain that, I'm really working on myself now and working and understanding more that I need to start setting boundaries for myself and the value and the importance that this is going to be for me and for our relationship too. And, depending on, how you feel, you can almost, if you feel like being very vulnerable and open to them of just like, for so long, this has really just bothered me that this is the way business has been conducted, or this is the way that, you've treated me in my home. And I'm on this journey to finding how to just love myself more, to be with myself more, and to just set these boundaries for myself. And you can even blame it on the book. Like, hey, I've been reading that book, Boundaries. It was recommended I read it, and they're talking about this. And I'm going to start trying some of this out because it seems like it's really working for these people in the book I read.
Yeah, I love you, but I need this for me.
Exactly. And that may be really hard for the other person to receive it or to hear it, because it's like, whoa, why didn't you tell me this 5-10 years ago? Well, you know what? Maybe.
Yeah, are you mad at me? Do you not like me anymore?
Exactly. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes we just don't have that awareness. We don't realize that that's the reason every time I see you, I have this stomach ache or this pit in my stomach or just dread seeing you. It just maybe did not come to a head for me. And it's not like you have to say all that. I mean, you can if you feel so inclined, but I don't know. I don't know if that's really speaking in love, but it's just, I have this new awareness now. And yes, I still love you. I still want you in my life, but I got to do this for myself. And I think just having that open, honest conversation and not tiptoeing around it is going to be really valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. It's just, I think that's really hard. And I think honestly, for me personally, I think for a lot of people listening, maybe we haven't set boundaries, right? And that's kind of the whole point of this. Like, we didn't have it figured out. We don't have it figured out.
We're still working on it.
Definitely still working on it. And I'm sure a lot of you are. I'm sure some people are great at this, and I think there's also a large amount of people who are not, or just even unaware. It's not that you're bad; it's just unaware. So obviously, I think that's the point. That's part right there of establishing boundaries in relationships that have been overstepped.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think
that's the hard part, is like, how do we do that?
Right. And I think sometimes too, at least for me, it's been easier just to like disconnect that person from my life because it's easier. I don't really want to bother with it. It's not like there's somebody I have to see all the time. So I'm not even going to mess with it, kind of thing. And I think that's just a real disservice to yourself and to that person to not address it. And you may think like, well, I don't really care 2 cents about that person or whatever. You may be thinking about that person. But I think too, it's almost looking at it like this is training grounds. I'm building up a muscle and it
hurts the first few times, right?
It does. You're kind of like sore mentally.
Flexing that thing for the first time, working it out. Like, we all know that pain. You go run for the first time or hit the gym for the first time.
Ouch.
Yeah, you're sore. You get that muscle soreness. Yeah, that's deep pain, isn't it?
It is deep pain, and this can be very emotional and very physically draining and painful too. And so I think it's just looking at every opportunity as a way for you to keep building that muscle, whether you're like, because sometimes I think we can become hardened, and I know I have like, well, I don't really care anyways, like what that person thinks, and they can just do whatever they want. That's just them. Well, no, that's easy for me to say because now I don't have to address the issue of how it hurt me and how it affected me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one thing for me is, depending on who it is, I have 2 scenarios. I have complete avoidance. Mm-hmm. If it's someone that I kind of like, they're not just going away, right? Like someone that's kind of habitual, like I'm just all of a sudden busy all the time. Right. Or depending on the other kind of relationship is just, fresh start, just do something completely different. Just, that way I can just start fresh. If I can't avoid you, then I'll just start something all the way over. So I just, so that's my whole thing. And both of those just stem back to avoidance of dealing with it. Right.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It is at first.
So I think there's a really good quote, and I kind of would like you to expand on it, maybe dissect it a little bit and talk about it. It's by Tony Gaskins. It's you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I think it really just sums up so much of what we're talking about tonight, that the way we handle situations, the way we reinforce our boundaries, it shows people, like it clearly said, how to treat us. This is like training grounds. We're training them how to treat us in a way. And so that's part of our role too, is to train people, let them see how you want to be treated. And I think, that really just beautifully encapsulates, I feel like, everything that we're talking about tonight of being able to do that. I mean, it seems very, very clear. And I love it's like how we teach them, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Every relationship and every time every interaction within every relationship is another opportunity to reinforce things and continuing education on what are the proper, what's the etiquette and the proper way we go about teaching or treating each other in this relationship. Like what I allow, what I stop, and then the reinforcement of that through just repetition.
Exactly.
So, like, yes, you can treat me like that. Yes, you can say those mean things to me. But you had to smile, so that mean thing doesn't count. Like, no, you or what you stop. Like, you can't say that. Like, that's not cool, man. Don't say that, or don't talk about my family like that. Like, I know you're just kind of kidding around, but like, it's kind of hurtful. I don't want to carry that on. I want to. I want you to respect me. And
yeah, exactly. So, I think it's such a beautiful quote and has so much richness to it. I think when you really do learn to apply it.
Because it really comes down to that self-love, and then having enough empathy and care, concern, compassion for others to just say, I'm gonna, these are some boundaries.
Exactly. And I think too, like, I feel like this impetus for us to really be working on this in our own lives, because, as everyone knows, we're bringing a baby into this world, or the baby's already here, in the womb. And I want him to know how to do these things. So they're valuable skills to have, and for him to see it modeled, that it's okay to do those things and to stand up for yourself and let people know what you need.
I think the hardest thing is that hurt. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, those are like literally some of the hardest words to say.
Yeah.
Like, even if it did hurt, I'm not going to show him that hurt me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to show weakness. I'm not going to show vulnerability. I'm not going to show that side. But in honesty, what does that really show? Strength, self-care,
right?
Openness. Like, there is so much strength in vulnerability to just say, like, I honor myself. I honor this relationship, to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable is to say, that hurt, or that means a lot to me. Thank you. Like all that, just, like both ends of the spectrum of emotion.
Right.
So hard to show deep, true emotion on both sides, I think. Don't you?
Yeah, I agree. I think it really is. It's a spot that probably a lot of us just don't really deal with, or, we're just kind of always told to suck it up, deal with it, just drive on, and not really ever acknowledge it.
Yeah. That's some deep work, that's some real hard work. It is.
It really is. It's definitely not easy. And I think another way to kind of know, like sometimes you may be thinking here, like, well, I don't know if a boundary of mine's been crossed. Well, I think we do. I think a lot of times it's just checking in with ourselves. Like, wow, I'm just really feeling icky from that situation that just happened, or just feeling really unsettled or whatever. But like, if you start to notice that you're feeling just maybe resentful towards that person, or just like dreading to go see them, I really encourage people to like take some time and think about it. Like, what is it that is causing me to feel this way. And that may be your clue that maybe there's a boundary I need to set, because every time I'm around this person, they're always negative nilly about every single person, left and right, front and back of them. And it just makes me leave feeling really like icky, like that we just had a conversation about everybody around the room. And it just feels really, just not good. And so I may have to have that conversation with that friend of like, hey, I really respect you. I really value our time together. But when we're together, like, I'd prefer that maybe we talk about things that are uplifting to other people. And you model it too, like by not egging them on and getting into the, oh, I know, I can't believe that person did that, but by showing them that like, we can still have good conversations by connecting on other areas of our life instead of connecting on all the negative nilly things about other people.
Yeah.
And so sometimes just having that conversation and then being able to model it too, for them to see that we can still like totally enjoy each other's presence and not have to badmouth everybody.
Yeah. And this is cool. Like, I do want to end with it. Like, that's a really cool statement. I really enjoy that because like there is that, Brene Brown talks about that. It's,
oh yeah. Like the,
what's it? The vault? Is
the
it
vault? Very good.
Yeah.
But I forget what they all stand for.
Yeah. So basically it's like we think we're building this like connection between each other because we can talk bad about someone else.
Yes.
There's that weird connection or bond that gets formed, or you feel gets formed, but it's just like, wow, if they're so willing to talk bad about someone else, or if I'm so willing to talk bad about someone else, like, that person's probably, with the right other person involved, if I'm absent, they might be so willing to talk bad about me because they have some intel on me and, they want to make that bond and connection with them. So by saying, hey, I don't want to, I don't want to talk bad about them, or just don't engage it. Just like, I don't know, they've always been cool to me. I like them.
Yeah, and change the subject.
Yeah,
or
so that really kind of shuts it down if like you're just positive. Yeah, so that's really cool. That was one thing that just kind of popped up. But this also, one thing I wanted to wrap up is just like, this doesn't mean we're negative nillies or Debbie Downers. Like by setting boundaries, you're not that. Like,
no,
you are still you.
Yeah,
your personality still shines through. You still are fun and loving and caring and kind. It's just, you also show this is a way to demonstrate that I love and care about myself as well.
exactly.
Like I'm not so, enveloped in my own life that like no one else matters, but I matter, like
exactly.
I matter to me. Like, you do have to put your own oxygen mask on, right?
Exactly. And I think we're not used to doing that. Or at least I'm not. It's always,
no,
how can I help everybody else?
Yeah. And then I'm beat down and treaded on, walked on, and then I feel terrible. And now I'm emotionally down and I don't take care of someone, or I'm not uplifting. I'm not, my personality isn't coming through. My lightheartedness isn't coming through because I'm habitually walked on, or people treat me bad and I haven't set that boundary to say, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it almost makes me think like the true qualities that make you so special and the person you are can really get, can really just get masked and not like readily available for you because you don't have the time or energy to show those true qualities about yourself because you're so, fatigued and tired from all the other duties and things you're doing because you're not setting the boundaries, So it's your true authentic self can't really come through sometimes when we're that stretched in so many areas of our lives. And I think this book really did encourage me too, like just reading some of the different stories about these relationships that went so awry because the person was never around anymore and they were married to their job, or they just set poor boundaries in so many areas of their lives, all the conflict it caused. Yeah. And so it was encouraging just to read some of that, just to see like, I don't know, more of an impetus to like really work on it, to not have to get to that point. And we all may at some point in our life, and it's learning lessons through it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. I think we've kind of hit a good spot.
Yeah, I do too.
Kind of wrap things up. I will put the name of the book and the authors in the show notes,
Okay.
along with the quote from Tony Gaskins that we mentioned. Just real quick, Anina, give us a super quick summary of boundaries.
Boundaries are your kind of like your guideposts to keep you on your path and keep you true to yourself and what's important to yourself, and just loving and honoring yourself, and just understanding for yourself what those are, and recognizing maybe when a boundary of yours has been stepped on, and then just having the strength to talk to that person, have just a real, genuine, honest conversation about them, with it. About it. So,
yeah. So for me, real quick, a boundary is the fencing around the perimeter of my life, my internal. So it should reflect my personality and should let that shine through. It's not to ward off anyone. It does have a gate that I control.
True. I like
so
that.
It is for me, but applied to everyone else. This is how you will treat me. This is something that I predetermine for myself, and this is how I show my self-care and love. That way I can operate in my fullest because I'm not being trampled on, either, from harm or love, that's just like oppressive. But either way, so that's kind of what it is. Like,
I like that.
All boundaries must be set in love to be effective.
Very
so
true.
I think that's the biggest thing. Just to wrap up, please reach out on social, follow us. So you can find us on Instagram at Sound Mind Strategies, and then me personally, is Evan_Blankenship. And then Anina is at Anina Renee on Instagram. We're both on Facebook as well. Send a friend request. We'll definitely follow you. And Sound Mind Strategies is also on Facebook. So Sound Mind Strategies and Services there. And then if you would like to reach out, please do. We'd love to hear from you. I think the easiest way is just go to our website, soundmindstrategies.com. and click on the contact us link there, and just shoot us an email in the contact or in the subject line. Just, if it's addressed to either one of us specifically, you can go ahead and throw that in there, or we'll figure it out. We'll read, and we'd love to hear from you guys about anything. If you have any topic ideas, things you want to hear about, things that you have any questions about previous topics or whatever. If you're looking for a coach, we'd love to coach. And then also, that doesn't mean you're stuck with us. Like, if every coaching person, every coaching relationship rather, is a relationship, and it needs to work, So, every consult that we do is, free consult. We do offer a first, session that's free, just to kind of an introductory session to kind of let you know what you're getting into. And then, no harm, no foul. Like, if you don't like what you hear, or you want,
or doesn't feel like a good fit, we can help connect you to that coach.
Exactly.
That
We will
could
definitely
really
help find you what you're after. And that's the whole point of why we do what we do, is to get more people living to their fullest potential.
Yes.
If we can help and be a facilitator of that, awesome. If we can help find you the right person that is the true facilitator for you, awesome. And that's a win-win for us. And we just love that more people are operating in their fullness. And that just fires us up.
It does,
so
yeah.
Please do that. And one last thing, with our website, we are kind of getting to a point of where we would love to have someone help and manage that. This is something that we would definitely compensate. Like, it's not, we're not asking for favors. This is something that, like, if you do this professionally or just good at it, and you would like to do something on the side and you're interested, we're open to all that. Please reach out. Like, we're looking for someone to kind of manage some of that. Put, the links to the podcast and stuff up there. All that fun stuff. We don't have to get into it here for everyone, but like, if that's something that you're
just
into,
reach us out to us. Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you. We can kind of go from there. So, do you have anything else that you need to add?
No, I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us till the end, and we love you guys, and
Talk soon.
Yeah. Peace.
Bye.